You failed again. You promised yourself you would do it differently this time, and you failed. Again, by now you have accepted this as simply who you are, someone without enough discipline, without enough willpower, without enough strength of character to follow through. And that story feels absolutely true. Every time you quit, every time you procrastinate, every time you reach for the phone instead of the task in front of you, it confirms what you already believe about yourself. You are the problem. Your discipline is broken. But what if that story is wrong? The uncomfortable truth is this: discipline is not a character trait. It is not something you either have or you do not have. Discipline is a symptom of your environment, and if your environment is poorly designed, no amount of willpower will ever be enough for years. Psychologists and neuroscientists believed that willpower was like a muscle. The more you used it, the stronger it got. If you just tried harder, if you just pushed yourself more, you could overcome any obstacle. This belief led to an entire industry of self-help advice telling you to wake up earlier, work harder, believe in yourself more. If you failed, the message was always the same. You simply did not want it badly enough. You were not disciplined enough. You were weak. But in the early 2000s, researchers began to notice something puzzling. In studies measuring willpower, certain people seemed to have an unlimited supply of it. They could resist temptation effortlessly, they could stay focused for hours, they could stick to their goals without apparent struggle, and at first scientists assumed these people simply had stronger character. They were more disciplined by nature. But when researchers looked closer at the lives of these high performers, they noticed something that changed everything. These people were not using more willpower, they were using less. They had arranged their lives in such a way that willpower was barely necessary. The psychologist Roy Baumeister, who spent decades studying self-control, discovered that people with the highest levels of accomplishment did not rely on discipline. They relied on systems. They made decisions once and then removed the need to decide again. Think about your own life right now. Every single day you are bombarded with choices: what to eat, what to watch, what to check on your phone, whether to work on what matters or distract yourself with what is easy. And every single one of these choices requires willpower. Every choice depletes the finite resource of attention and energy you have available. By the end of the day, you are exhausted not because you worked hard on what mattered, but because you made 1,000 tiny decisions that drained you. This is why you fail at discipline, not because you are weak, but because you are asking your brain to do something it was never designed to do. Your brain evolved in an environment of scarcity. Food was hard to find, distractions were rare. The path forward was usually obvious. Your ancestors did not need to decide whether to scroll social media because social media did not exist. They did not need to resist the pleasure of processed sugar because processed sugar was not available in their kitchen at midnight. But you live in an environment of abundance. Everywhere you look, there are things designed by some of the smartest engineers and psychologists in the world, specifically to grab your attention and keep it. Your phone is engineered to create craving. Food is engineered to create addiction. Entertainment is algorithmically optimized to make you spend more time watching instead of living, and you are standing in the middle of this storm of temptation with nothing but willpower to protect you. Of course, you are failing. It is not that you lack discipline. It is that you are trying to use discipline in a situation where discipline was never meant to be the solution. You are trying to win a game that is designed for you to lose. The breakthrough comes when you stop trying to have more willpower and start trying to need less willpower. You do this not through motivation or inspiration or any internal shift. You do this by changing your environment, because your environment is not neutral. It is actively shaping your behavior every single moment. This is something that behavioral scientists call choice architecture, and it is everywhere around you. The layout of a grocery store is not accidental. The shelves near the checkout line are stocked with sugary impulse purchases. The healthy foods that require more willpower to choose are pushed to the back. That is choice architecture designed to make you buy things that are profitable, not things that are good for you. But you can use the same principle in reverse. You can architect your own choices. If you want to eat healthier, you do not rely on discipline to choose an apple instead of a donut every single morning. Instead, you simply do not buy donuts. You do not have them in your house. The choice becomes automatic. If you want to be more productive, you do not rely on discipline to focus on your work instead of your phone. Instead, you put your phone in another room. You remove the option to fail. This is not weakness. This is not cheating. This is actually the most intelligent approach to behavior change that exists. The psychiatrist and researcher B.J. Fogg, who studies how habits are actually formed, discovered that the easiest way to build a new behavior is not to increase your willpower or motivation. It is to make the desired behavior as easy as possible and the undesired behavior as hard as possible. You are not fighting against your nature. You are redesigning your environment so that your nature naturally pulls you toward what you actually want. But here is where most people get stuck. They think that removing temptation is somehow dishonest. They believe that real discipline means standing in front of temptation and saying no, and that belief keeps them trapped. They keep their phone on their desk while they work. They keep junk food in the pantry while they diet. And then they blame themselves when they fail to resist, when they give in to the design of their environment. The person with real strength is not the one who can resist 1,000 temptations every day. The person with real strength is the one who designs their life so they do not have to. This is not laziness, this is wisdom. Your brain is not broken, your character is not weak. You are simply trying to overcome an environment that is stacked against you using a tool that was never meant to carry that much weight. Every single high achiever, every person who seems to have unlimited discipline is actually using the same strategy. They have simply designed their environment so that the path of least resistance is also the path toward their goals. This means your lack of discipline is not a personal failure at all. It is feedback. It is your environment telling you that something is not aligned. And instead of concluding that you are broken, you can ask a different question. What would need to change about my surroundings for the right choice to be the easy choice? What decision or temptation keeps appearing in my life? How can I remove it from the equation entirely? When you stop blaming yourself and start examining your environment, everything changes. You stop trying to be stronger. You start trying to be smarter. You stop fighting your nature and start designing your nature. And suddenly, discipline does not feel like a constant battle against yourself. It feels like coming home. It feels like your life is finally set up to support who you want to be instead of fighting against it. So the next time you fail, do not say that you lack discipline. Say instead that your environment needs redesigning. Look around. What is making the wrong choice easy? What is making the right choice hard? And what would need to shift for that to flip? Because that shift is where your real power is. Not in your willpower, in your wisdom,